What is up and welcome to another Halloween month edition of Worth a Watch with me, Anthony Flores. Today is going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to be just talking about one movie, but a handful of them, as you can see right behind me here. Or to my side, so... Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The infamous story of duality, a man struggling to figure out a certain particular serum, elixir, potion, and what have you, turns into an infamous monster or monstrous man or just all around. And a couple of movies right here behind me, a very wicked or bitchy woman of some kind, or a serial killer basically. So that's interesting. Let's get started on talking about the main film I really wanted to talk about today. Was the Hammer horror cult hit Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, but I'll get to that for last. First up, the secondary version, I guess, if you want the comedy of the whole thing. This is a comedic take of the Jekyll and Hyde story of Jekyll becoming a female Hyde character. This was made in the 90s. I don't even know if any of you know what this is. I kind of grew up with this film and I thought, yeah, over time it did not age very well. But you got the voice of Superman and you got Sean Young. Tim Daly is the voice of Superman, for those of you who do not know, in the DC animated universe. And yeah, you got some other actors in here as well. Lisette Anthony, what's his name? Harvey Fierstein, Stephen Tobolowsky, and Jeremy Piven. Jeremy Piven and Harvey Fierstein, to me, kind of steal this whole movie. But yeah, it's kind of not really funny, but it's just kind of a weird, random take on this. Again, to me, this film kind of does it a little bit better, but again, I'll explain that more later. But this film is just, again, the Jekyll and Hyde story. A perfume maker in a perfume company realizes he's actually related to Dr. Jekyll. He finds his whole book and secrets and whatnot, and then he experiments, and then boom, he becomes a very, very hot 90s Sean Young. And from there, she wants to take over his job, take over his life. So again, very much in the vein of the Jekyll and Hyde story, except in this case, it's not dark and tragic like many of the other versions are. It's very much just comical, it's slapsticky, and it's over the top. Kind of hard to come on DVD, but I'm pretty sure you can stream either one of these movies somewhere out there, so give it a watch if you want to see a really odd comedy, and it really goes kind of nowhere. Yeah, again, this movie didn't age well, but I kind of grew up with this, so it's kind of a guilty pleasure on that line. And this one I haven't seen too often, but I still enjoy it. I love Abbott and Costello. These guys are legendary. And you got Boris Karloff as the Jekyll and Hyde character. In this case, I believe it was... Yeah. In this case, he's portrayed as an evil uncle, Dr. Jekyll, who is just basically an asshole in this movie. And it just really gets over the top as well. This is definitely not the best Abbott and Costello film. But overall, it's still a fun ride. It's actually just interesting how a lot of people become Mr. Hydes, and you can see that right there by the still in the back. It's kind of hilarious how that happens, but Boris Karloff, the man was a legend when it came to horror films, and to have him in this film really just made it so much better. And Abbott and Costello's comedy and perfect timing. The story is a bit bland, but overall, still a fun ride. Still, you know, I remember I bought this for like $1. At a flea market or something, but overall, love me some Abbott and Costello. Now for the main movie that we're here to talk about, this little cult hit right here from Hammer Horror, starring Ralph Bates and Martine Beswick. Hands down, Martine Beswick steals the show, not because she's very hot and, yeah, there's a nude scene, so that's the shallow part of the show here. Nude scenes. Yay. The only true critique I have of this, looking at it, rewatching it, Jekyll is basically Dexter. I guess that's the easiest way to put it. In the name of science, though, he doesn't kill because he needs to feed the monster. I must put them on my table. Yeah, he doesn't do any of that. He basically does it for science. And to find the perfect way to make his elixir, potion, whatever you want to call it, serum, And from then, it just kind of gets a bit convoluted as to why he needs various women's organs. So he ends up stabbing the shit out of a handful of women in the beginning of the film and kind of throughout the film. But then he realizes to keep going with his experiments, why not have his new female alter ego do that for him? Because eventually the police catch on. So from there, it kind of gets a bit convoluted, as I said. That's the only true critique I have. But overall, what saves this film is the duality. Like in all these movies, the duality is what saves this film. The battle within the brain, the two people within the same mind, trying to battle each other to be physically more dominant. And that is where this movie really shines. The blurred lines that happen, they kind of cross, like when Jekyll physically, Hyde, she kind of takes over, and then vice versa. So that's very, very much what saves this movie, I think. And the two supporting actors, I do not recall their names, unfortunately, but they are siblings, and they both fall for the respective characters. The sister is very innocent and kind, and she really has a soft spot for Dr. Jekyll. Her brother is very lustful for Sister Hyde. So, yeah, it kind of leaves for some odd situations, much like in any Jekyll and Hyde story. And the reason why she's called Sister Hyde is because, of course, like in any one of these stories as well, you got to come up with that quick story as to who they are. And she's the widowed sister of Dr. Jekyll. That's what he came up with in the film. So that's that. And from there, again, it just really is kind of brutal and bloody and violent, surprisingly. But again, Hammer Horror always does that whole 180 with movies like this. So I think that's where it makes it interesting. The battle within their own minds psychologically, I think, is again what the strongest thing is. And it just does end in tragedy. You kind of care for some of the characters, and it's kind of hard to root for Jekyll sometimes, again, because he's murdering in the name of science. So it's yay for science, I guess, because you had to kill people. No, I'm not even a science person, so I don't give a shit. But yeah, as you can see by my explanation, it's a bit convoluted, but overall, just the campiness and the overall tone of the film is very serious as well. You just have to check it out for yourself. I highly recommend to check out all these movies at least once, whether it's for campiness, over-the-top randomness, or just all-around hilarious comedy duos such as that. But overall, yeah, Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, a weird mixed bag of a movie, but I think it's definitely worth checking out at least once, especially if you're a Hammer Horror fan. If you've yet to see it, I definitely recommend it, simply because it definitely was ahead of its time, making a female Hyde character and making it kind of work. It works for the most part, because as I said, Martine Beswick, she steals the show. There's a reason why she was a Bond girl, so yeah, good stuff. So overall, I recommend these movies. Feel free to check them out, or if you've seen them, feel free to let me know in the comments below. So that should do it for this episode of Worth a Watch with me, Anthony Flores. I hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time, and stay tuned for more Halloween month videos, and hopefully a Blu-ray update, hopefully. So thanks again, and stay tuned.